Welcome back to realestateexperts.com online. If you're considering a sale of a home, we've had a little bit of a bump for the first time in the last week or two with traffic. We've finally seen what we thought we'd see in April, and I guess it's to be expected. Rates are down in the threes. If you've missed out on a refinance when rates were in the threes before, don't miss out again. They're down in the threes. Fed might drop the rate coming up again when they meet. Not sure they will. That's just something of a scuttlebutt that's out there. But the bottom line is I really think the real estate market is sort of bearing toward the end of anything good and headed towards something a little bit more tragic. We're seeing more bankruptcies and foreclosures. We're seeing a little bit more distress, and we're seeing a kind of a lackadaisical attitude. That doesn't mean prices aren't still fairly high in the backdrop of the last decade, but it does mean this summer may be your last chance to get top dollar if you plan to sell in the next 2 to 3 years. So if you want to evaluate that decision, I'm not saying call us and we'll blow smoke up your rear end and try to convince you to do something you're not ready to do. I'm not really interested in that game at this stage of my life. I'm interested in just helping people make a decision. And if we help you make the decision to stay in your home, great. Maybe you'll refer us to someone down the road otherwise, or decide to use us when you sell. Or maybe it's the right time for you to sell, maximize your equity, and move on toward retirement or otherwise life-freeing plans. Go to therealestateexperts.com, check our property valuation tab. It's probably under the More, M-O-R-E tab. And we'll be happy to talk to you over the phone or meet with you in person, whichever is appropriate. I'll do it myself if you wish. Therealestateexperts.com. Feel free to reach out anytime. So cost versus value. Now, this is sort of a generic approach. It's different in different markets, but this is a good rule of thumb. I get this question all the time from home sellers, and it usually comes in the wake of them either having watched HGTV and a couple of YouTube videos and or speaking with a couple of what I would call robotic real estate agents. If I do A, B, and C to the house, how much money will that add to my value? So I'm going to give you some of those answers as a guideline in a moment. But before I do that, I want to set up what I'm hearing that's very misleading. I took a listing not long ago where the sellers were advised by a couple different agents who had darker colored cabinets. You really need light cabinets. You need to paint those cabinets in order to do the best job selling the home. Then I read one this week, and I just rolled my eyes on this one. This is a listing I've just taken, and we're in the process of doing some repairs to it, basic stuff, lipstick on a pig, I like to call it. And the agent that had it before through the property management company when it had a tenant in it sent out a bullet point list of recommendations, most of which were okay, but one of them said, I quote, "We have found in the research that buyers are now looking for fingerprint-free stainless steel appliances." And I looked at my wife and I said, have you ever heard of a fingerprint-free stainless steel appliance in the context of any real estate negotiation you have ever done? She said, hell no, I haven't heard that. I said, so I'm sure, I know that exists. I know that there are marketing venues at the point of sale in Lowe's and Home Depot that say fingerprint-free stainless steel. It's not a pervasive thing, but it's out there. I get it. I'm not denying that the terminology doesn't exist, but this is the kind of crap that these robots, sometimes called real estate agents in our business, have been trained to vomit on home sellers in Metro Atlanta to make themselves sound like makeshift experts. The reality of an expert when you are going to sell a home, and I'm getting back to the numbers in a minute, I promised you, is not someone who comes with all the answers, because how do I know all the answers about the sale of your home until I seek to know what you're trying to accomplish, what the history of the home is, and what the neighborhood is like? Most agents come in with a sheet of paper that says this repair will add this value. Well, that may be true if you're in a neighborhood with 5 floor plans and someone has put granite and stainless and hardwoods in when everything else has carpet, formica, and white appliances. You know, certainly there is going to be an intrinsic value to being the better home in the neighborhood. But if you are in a neighborhood that is $2 million and an old brick ranch is the one remaining, and it has formica and white appliances and carpet, and everybody else has McMansions, and you're $1 million, there may be someone who wants to buy your home for $1 million or 900 or 800,000 or whatever it is. and be able to enter that neighborhood who doesn't have square footage envy and do it their own way. So you can't estimate whether or not that adds any value to the house in that sort of scenario. Tuxedo Park in Buckhead might be a good example of that. Certain parts of downtown Roswell or Alpharetta that are older, more established, that are very high demand, great school districts, what have you. You can't apply this crap to those types of scenarios. Real estate agents don't know how to critical think and judge anything anymore, which is a product of the public school system we've had for 3 or 4 decades that's been rapidly degrading. The public school system who sends out a first semester summer of 2019 email to parents that instructs illegals on how to avoid ICE raids. Atlanta Public Schools just did that. You probably didn't hear about it in the media because why would the liberal media, even locally, report on this? It's part of their whole acumen and agenda. So this is the type of school system that's training these people who then get out and they want to call themselves a real estate agent. They can't think because they don't know how to assess the gray areas of life. They think in black and white terms. So if an agent walks in with a sheet like the one I have in front of me and says, this is how we should apply value to your home based upon your condition and improvements, if this, then that, if this improvement, then this much money, then, that's a perfect telltale sign that they're a fake expert. There's 2 kinds of experts. The first expert in any business is the one who takes in the data, looks at the situation, and gives a slightly different answer to every slightly different situation, or gives a remarkably different answer to every remarkably different situation. Most people in America, 80% of the population, are what I call process experts. Most people know how to comply with the process. So they know how to read a spreadsheet and regurgitate crap out of their mouth, but they don't know how to think anymore. So this is what I'm describing. I'm almost making fun of what I'm about to say because this stuff doesn't exactly matter, except that it really does matter. It matters if you think about it critically and in the gray area. It doesn't matter at all if you try to apply in a boilerplate fashion. So here's some ideas of what happens to your home, cost versus value, what you spend to improve it versus what you get back. So a bathroom addition. If you have a home and you add a bathroom, job cost $55,000, resale value $28,700. See, now this is a problem. So this is the boilerplate approach to a bathroom. I can do a bathroom and add square footage to the house if I had to do it that way for $30,000. And if the bedrooms and baths of the house are 3 bedrooms, 1.5 baths in a neighborhood predominantly full of 3 and 4 bedroom houses with 2 and 2.5 baths, I may actually add more value to that house than the money I spent adding the bathroom. Versus if I have a 5 bedroom, 3.5 bath house in a neighborhood with mostly 4 and 5 bedroom homes with 3 baths, I may not add any value to the house. Or if I do, it might be $5,000 or $10,000 versus a $30,000 spend. So you can't take the boilerplate crap and say, well, this is what applies because I'm a real estate expert. No, you have to look at the conditions around you. Am I getting this house more in line with what the rest of the homes in the neighborhood are? And here's another problem you run into with the real estate market. Let's say that you have a 3 bedroom, 1.5 bath home, and every home around you is 3 or 4 bedrooms with 2.5 baths. So you're bath deficient. And you look at the values of the neighboring homes and you say, well, these homes are worth $300,000. So my home must be worth $295,000, $300,000 as well. No, maybe it's only worth $280,000. Or $275,000. But with a brand new bathroom, instead of 3, maybe it's worth $310,000 because you've not only met the rest of the neighbors' homes that are creating the value you perceive, you've exceeded it by having one of the main bathrooms, as I would presume you'd do the master, be new. So in that scenario, the hard part for someone like me in the real estate business is if you have a bath less, so it's a bath and a half, and everybody else has 2.5 baths, and then I add a bath, you may not think you're getting any return for it, but you're not able to see, because it hasn't happened yet, the fact that you would have gotten far less than you think for the house with that 1.5 baths versus 2.5. These are the kind of things where you have to identify an expert like me or others that understand how to take the data from the spreadsheet and apply it specifically to your situation, because otherwise you'll make the wrong decisions. Not saying you can't make the right decisions. You need the data and the help from someone who's dealt with the data frequently and in the gray area to do these things. So let's say you add a deck on the home. Deck costs $20,000. That's going to add about $14,000 in value. Garage door replacement. So let's say the garage door is $3,800. That's going to give you all your money back. Windows. Windows are, about a $5,000 deficiency. Unless the windows are just so old and they don't work, then they can make a real difference between the depreciated value and what it would be. There aren't that many repairs or upgrades. Bath remodels, you lose money on those from a perspective of about 40%. In fact, the only thing that really gives you 100% return on your money is a garage door replacement. So if you have bad carpet and the proposition is to go from bad carpet to good carpet, then you will get your money and then some on that. Paint is another story. So if you have a lot of colors or your paint's in bad shape and you spend dollar for dollar on the paint, you will get, I believe, up to a certain reasonable amount on a paint job, a 2-for-1 return on a paint job, about 2-to-1 on carpet, about 2-to-1 on paint. So what is the one thing you can do as a homeowner to increase the value of your home exponentially? We've just established that most of the things that real estate agents come out and recommend do not, in fact, add additional value to the home. They just get you back to the equivalent value of the neighborhood. And that's if we're lucky. The two things that add value are paint and carpet. Moderate amounts of landscaping has a threefold value in my experience. In other words, if you have a ratty flower beds and you put in pine straw and spruce them up, costs very little, adds a lot of value. But here's the big one. I believe from my own experience and looking at the track record of my sales that staging at a cost of $2,000 to $3,000 can return a value of $5,000 to $10,000. Now here's the kicker. Staging is one of the most difficult things to get a home seller to do in the backdrop of the fact that it's one of the most impactful in increasing the actual sales amount of the home and decreasing market time. Coming up next, the most and least stressed cities in America on the realestateexperts.com Real Estate Show. Don't go away.